Hello, everyone. This is Joe Fosco with American News Post. Today is Friday, August the 23rd, 2013. I'm here today. We're doing our sports podcast, and I'm with our host, Michael Magnafichi.
Good afternoon, everybody.
And our almost former co-host, but proud to say he's still our co-host, Frank Coconate.
Glad to be back.
Oh, I'm glad Joe Man interrupted for a second. Glad to have him back, because without a former enemy, I don't think we would have a conversation.
Okay.
And that's a tease, folks.
Yeah.
We're just teasing about that.
Very good. Okay, what are we talking about today, sports-wise, gentlemen?
Well, I guess we can touch on the baseball a little bit. Cubs and Sox, that's Frank's forte. Frank, I'll let you lead off with that.
The Sox, even though they've been winning lately a couple of games, they're done this year. I think Robin Ventura's got to make a decision, as does the management. You know, the manager,
GM,
if they want to keep them. The Cubs were doing really well, playing some good baseball, and then they unloaded anybody that was worth anything. They just dumped them, so anybody that's expecting the Cubs to win anything after that, you know, it's terrible. So they're losing, as usual. Hopefully they don't lose 100 as well as the Sox.
Right.
So our teams are doing pretty bad.
Well, when they got rid of Soriano, he had a void clause in his contract that he could veto any trade.
Right.
And one of the few teams that he would veto was the Yankees, and that's where he started with.
Right.
And he's lighting it up over there.
I
don't know if you followed it. He's killing it. I think he's got like 6 home runs since he's been there.
All kind of RBIs.
RBIs. His on base percentage is off the charts. He's just doing wonderful. But I think that might have been the only team that he had in his veto clause that he could, say you're not trading, because he really loved the Cubs.
He did, but he had so much pressure with the Cubs, I guess, and they're always constantly down on him. But he goes to the Yankees, and he's like you say,
he's killing it. He's killing it. He's balling like you can't believe.
Unbelievable.
Yes,
unbelievable.
He's doing it. And the Cubs and the Sox. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that the Cubs, when Theo Epstein came on board, I know that was a rebuilding time. I knew that. I knew that trades like this would happen, because to me, I have a friend of mine that. An old-timer in which his picture is taken on the lap when he was a baby of Babe Ruth.
Who is it, Michael?
His name is Dave. He was a bartender at the Village Pub.
Oh, you mentioned that in one of our previous shows.
Right. And Dave, I'm sorry, folks, if this is an old story, but he used to, I used to tell him that Soriano, he's the best guy, and at that time he was hitting 30 homers, 30 stolen bases, 120 RBIs. He was doing everything, and I said, you know what? On top of all these Italian, this guy Dave, he was an old timer himself. He was 75 at the time. I said, he's Italian on top of it. He goes, I thought you knew something about baseball. You don't even know anything about your own nationality. He's not Italian. I said, come on, it's Soriano. What's the matter with you?
Right.
Alfonso Soriano.
Right.
I mean, he's got Al Capone's first name, and he's got Soriano's his last name.
Right.
So, and I used to bust his balloons about it. But anyway, he had that the no trade clause. To veto any trade. And he took it to go there. They're doing good. But I think that the Cubs, I really do believe with Theo Epstein that the Cubs are on the right road. He's going to build up from the farm system. He's going to do that. The Sox, here they were 3 games. Frank, last year they were, 3 games away.
From being in the playoffs.
You're right, from being in the playoffs. And all of a sudden they're, kicking out, A.J. Brzezinski. I don't know why they did all of that.
Fell apart.
That's a little amazing to me. I thought that with the Lucas, you got to take it while you can. And if you get down to it, look at what the Nationals did.
I was going to bring that up with Strasburg. How do you're in the playoffs?
That's where they're at now.
Yeah, they're nowhere.
They're nowhere.
And
they're not going to even catch a wild card spot.
You brought up a great point. That's where the business end has ruined baseball. some genius sitting in the press or sitting in the organization. Let's sit him. We don't want to hurt him for the future.
They go with that pitch count nonsense.
Yeah, but right, and you know yourself, you don't know when you're going to be in the playoffs.
You have to live for it now. Remember Lee Mazzoni?
Yeah.
Pitching coach for the Atlanta Braves.
Right.
Atlanta Braves
Great.
with 13, 14 division titles.
Right,
correct?
Unbelievable.
In the playoffs
with
all
the
time.
pitchers they had.
Right.
In the playoffs all the time. And, well, they had Schmaltz. They had Maddox. They had Glavine,
right. I couldn't think of him.
Who else? Who was their fourth? I mean, but they had, those were the major three. They had the big three. They didn't never have the Mount Rushmore of four great guys.
Like
all
the worst teams in the past.
Right, they had the three great guys. And you know what Lee Mazzoni said about sitting a pitcher with a pitch count? He says, when do you ever know if you're ever going to get there again?
Right.
He said, remember he used to rock on the chair? The listeners can't see me rocking on the chair, imitating how he used to do. But he used to rock on the chair. If you guys ever want to pull up an old Atlanta game where they're showing him when he'd be getting nervous and because he was the guy that pulled the plug on,
Right, if Maddox went too long, but he was, they had great teams. They still got good teams. They got a great organization.
They got a great team now. And that brings me up to one of our final points about baseball is Jason Hayward caught one in the jaw.
Yeah, that was scary.
Broke his jaw, out for 4 to 6 weeks. And this is going to be a major, major blow to
the team.
Atlanta. It's going to kill him. He is unbelievably the nucleus of that team. This guy is a shortstop. He hits home runs. He steals bases. Defensively, he's off the charts, as far as defensively.
Atlanta is a team like Tampa, the Tampa Bay team, the Rays.
Well, a couple
they
years
play
ago,
solid baseball. You watch the Cubs all these years, and you see how lame they are. And I am a Cub fan. But you, if you're into baseball, you watch Atlanta. They're fundamentally sound. They're enjoyable to watch. They're hitting runs. The defense. Tampa reminds me there with their manager there, and I can't think of his name offhand. He's a great, good manager.
At Atlanta, he just retired. At Tampa. Oh, Jesus.
He's got a basic name.
So am I too. Boy, I'm sorry.
But the good look at Pittsburgh with. They got that Clint Hurdle coaching them.
Right.
And I liked him. I remember him in minor.
out there.
Right. They're winning. I'd love to see Pittsburgh do it. But St. Louis is right there.
Remember Pittsburgh, when you and I
We
were...
Are Family and
We Are Family.
Roberto Clemente, Willie Stargell.
Manny St. Gian.
What a team. Richie Hebner,
yeah.
What a team. Bill Blass, Doc Ellis.
They had everybody. They had all the personalities of baseball.
Oh, super.
And they were all great players, Joe.
And my dad was who liked baseball. He liked to watch it. He loved watching Pittsburgh. He said, I've never seen a more aggressive team. They don't sit at the plate. They are swinging. The free swing, he really liked their team.
Tell you a quick little side note. The first baseball cap I ever got, my across-the-street neighbors, the Colonas. Anthony Colonna was my best friend. If he's listening, I hope he's hearing. The first baseball cap I ever bought, my parents gave me enough money, my mom did, because my dad he was vacationing at the time, and he gave me, I think like $12, my mother did,
right?
To go get a cap, and it was a Pittsburgh Pirate hat.
Really?
You get a Cubs hat anywhere.
Right.
You get a Cubs hat.
I love getting other teams' hats.
And I got a Pittsburgh, because remember how they had the black and the gold?
It was different. At that time, it was different.
Sandlot ball. And that was, you were studding when you were doing
because
that.
Because it was a new look.
Right. And what was the next one? The Expos.
Right. I loved that.
He said it before I said it.
Yeah, I loved the Expos.
Was the next thing.
I loved their team. There was another good organization that just, they couldn't draw the fans in Montreal.
Well, it's Toronto now. Toronto, they won 2 World Series.
They're another good team. But the teams to watch now, there's like 40 games left in baseball. Right in there.
40-something, right.
Yeah. Detroit's winning.
Detroit's going to be tough.
Right. Detroit. Boston, Oakland, and Texas in the American League.
Right.
And the wild card, there's 30 teams in the wild card.
With the new way they got the system, everybody's still in it.
And I go to the National is St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati even has an outside chance.
They got an outside chance.
Atlanta, and nobody else there, divisions.
After that, it's Cook.
That's where we were talking about Washington.
Right.
And then it's Dodgers. Dodgers
playing unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Puig is just, he's ignited that, he saved his manager's job.
Oh, absolutely. Here's a guy,
Mattingly,
they signed all kinds.
Donnie Baseball. He saved Donnie Baseball his job.
Right. Donnie Baseball.
Right? Didn't they call it?
Yeah, you're right. Donnie Mattingly.
Donnie Mattingly. They call it Donnie Baseball.
I guess Magic Johnson owns part of that team.
Yeah, he's like a 30% owner.
Right. They bought everybody, anybody they can get, and still here's a rookie that comes up, and he's saving.
And he's the one. Cuban defective.
It'll be interesting. But one thing we know for sure, no Chicago team's in it.
No, not now, but we're getting there. I got faith in Theo Epstein. I think
and let's be honest, Ryan Storfin's not going to lose. He's not a loser.
No, he's not.
He'll build that team, reshape the team.
Well, you know what he's got? He's got the comfortability of having the fact that he's won championships. The Sox have won a championship. Right. He's got the Bulls on his resume. He's got all of this on his resume that he could sit there and say, well, wait a minute, I brought you guys 6 championships.
Right.
Brought you the greatest player in NBA history. He can say all that. He can boast about that. So he's really not under the gun like the Cubs are. Like Boston, when Terry Francona was coaching Boston, managing the team. That was a huge thing for them to come back from a 3-0 deficit. When they were, 3-0, nobody's ever done that in the history of
Boston was second to the Cubs on World Series, right? They didn't win.
Well, Cubs ever won since 1908.
Yeah, but
I think Boston was like 1913,
something like that.
Something like that.
And he won it with them. But it'll be interesting.
Love about baseball because you and I could bum rap the Cubs and Sox, bum rap our Cubs
in the rest of the show. But you want to move on?
Yeah, I wanted to move on. I just wanted to touch on a little bit of football that.
Didn't you have some notes for golf, Michael?
Yes, I did.
Why don't you go into that?
Well, we'll get into that because we haven't been around for 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
And Tiger Woods, he had that tremendous finish at Firestone. And, he won. All he did was he put it in cruise control. He basically set his car at 55 and, hands at 10 to 2, and he drove from here to St. Louis, from Chicago to St. Louis, drinking a bottle of vodka and not worrying about it because he wasn't going to get pulled over. Nobody's going to sneak up on him.
Right.
Because he was doing everything right. He just made power after power after power. He didn't have to make those 12-footers. And it just looked like he was, he's the number 1 player in the world. It looked like he was in such demand of his game. And here comes the major, and he finishes 4 over.
That's what I mean. I don't get that.
I think it's got, he's made it, a lot of it's on himself. Frank, when you think about it, and Joe, listen to this because it's mental because here's a guy that has put such extreme pressure on himself to break Jack Nicklaus's record of 18. And you know what? You can't get to 18 until you get to 15.
Right.
And 15 is like, if he was stuck on 18 as a tie, and he had this 5-year drought, then you would say, he probably never will do it.
Right.
But he can't even get to the point where it's really supposed to be pressure.
Right.
And for some reason, I've heard every comment, Peter Jacobson, Nick Faldo, David Faraday, all these fellas talk about him, and they say that he's just putting way too much pressure on himself because he's on cruise control with these other tournaments.
Right.
Here's a guy that's won 5 tournaments this year. Do you know what that is? That's like you talk about a phenomenal season. That's unbelievable. For a professional golfer,
it's like a 30-win win for a pitcher.
But he did not. For him, he'd kick in all those. And forget about the money. Money is not an issue with him. Obviously, it's not. Yeah. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about going into the FedEx Cup thing here, where they got the 4 playoff tournaments and win. I don't even know how the scoring goes in that. I got to get more knowledgeable about that. And he doesn't even care about that.
Yeah.
I mean, he does, but he doesn't. Because
who are the top 4 or 5 golfers right now? There's just so many.
Well, it's Woods, Mickelson, Rory McIlroy. You got to put Bradley in there, Keenan Bradley. These aren't hardly ranked.
Right.
I'm just saying who I think.
Who are the hot
Keenan Bradley, Dustin Johnson, Dustin Rose. Those are the guys that I think, Adam Scott. Adam Scott looks like he looks like a linebacker, the guy.
Right.
He's another one, like Tiger Woods.
Right.
they were those, they were those pants that I would not even go take the garbage out at night at, 3 in the morning when nobody's looking, because I would be afraid that somebody was driving by with a car and saw my big fat ass sticking out of it, But, I mean, they wear the clothing that the manufacturers tell them. The clothing manufacturers who sponsor them tell them what they can wear.
Right.
And, they give them, I'd love to have that problem,
Yeah, right.
It'd be easier to lose the weight than get the money to pay for that stuff, But those are the ones that you got to look out for. And, we'll see what happens. Now he's got 8 more months to wait for him.
That's what I'm saying. Is the season almost over, or what?
Well, you got the final, the FedEx Cup thing coming up,
right?
To where it's,
is that the end of the year then?
That's the end. And then basically the guys that are on the bubble as being top 125 to keep the tour current. They play in these tournaments where the field is a little weaker. You don't have the Tiger Woods, the Dustin,
Right.
Johnson,
the guys you just mentioned,
Scott, all the guys I mentioned. You do not have those fellas playing in that tournament.
Because they've done all their.
They've already, they're relaxing, they're kicking.
And why is Tiger going into that? He needs a win, or he just?
Well, no, that's just part of. It's just part of the schedule.
Tour, right?
It's a schedule, and it is prestigious,
Right.
He plays in the tournaments that he's won, that he's a repeat champion, and he's won at Firestone. I think last week when he won, I think that was his 8th time that he won there, and that's a golf course I've always wanted to play. Never even be close to even finding somebody that knew somebody to get us out there, I mean, but it's a wonderful golf course. It's very tough.
Right.
But that's where golf is. I wanted to touch just a bit on the which is
the football.
Yeah, that they fined that kid $21,000 for a hit. That I'm sure you'll get some response on this here, but I think that it was so totally a legal hit. I mean, did he raise up with his head? He did not. It wasn't a head-to-head. But they, you got to remember that they teach these kids to lead with the head. Now they're telling them when you lead with the head, you got to pull it up, and that's what he did. If you look at the tape, and I've seen it 1,000 times, he did kind of, but he caught him in the chest area, and he rocked him. Oh. This is shit that when you're in the film room the next day, me, you, and Joe, and we're all ball players, and we're sitting there looking at it. We're going, hey, man.
You're like this.
We're
whoa! You're yelling.
Yeah, you're yelling about it. And that's something that that receiver's going to remember when he plays against that team again.
Right.
He's going to remember that.
That guy's out. Any receiver.
He's out there.
Any receiver's going to watch the film and say, I got to keep my head up or I'm going to lose it.
Absolutely.
If they want football players to tone it down, or because they are killing each other, they are beating the crap out of each other. You got to do something with the helmet and because that's what they're using.
Well,
they created this super duper helmet, and they're using it to their advantage.
Well, you see that football never gets the attention for the PEDs and the steroid use.
Right.
That baseball does. Baseball has, we have hallowed records. What are the records you remember? You remember
Babe Ruth.
You remember
Hank Aaron, Willie Mays.
Ty Cobb. Pete Rose didn't do anything wrong other than gamble. We discussed it several shows before. But he didn't do anything to enhance his physical performance to play in a game. So you look at this here, and baseball is, we love baseball because of the records.
Right.
We judge the best ball players in the world by the records that they set.
Right.
Now, if we think that they cheated those records, that if they had an advantage because of drugs, certain drugs that make you, turn you into
stronger.
Faster, stronger. They turn you into the $6 million man, overnight. We tend to not forget that. But in football, we forgive them for it because we know that it's a gladiator sport. We know that these guys, minutes are off the field. You played football.
Right.
I did not. I played pickup ball.
I played
high
school.
But you played high school ball, and you know that you blow your spot due to injury. Next guy that's in.
Oh,
man, he makes 2-3 tackles in that game in your position at outside linebacker. He's in, and screw you.
That's
you're injury prone. You all of a sudden become an injury prone guy,
right.
and they don't need you anymore.
Right.
Now that's at a high school level. Could you imagine at a pro level?
Oh, it's unbelievable, the competition.
So I just
and
think
there's not much difference really, in football, from the worst guy to the best guy.
No.
Because it's just a matter of who's playing good, who's got the heart. You know, it's because they're all super athletes.
Football is a game of breaks, and the breaks oftentimes come from the fact that who gets injured that's in front of you, that you can slide into their spot and you prove yourself.
I don't care.
Look at Tom Brady.
Right.
Tom Brady was a 6th-round draft pick out of Michigan. Okay, he comes in because Drew Bledsoe gets injured.
Right.
What does Brady do? He does the cleanup work.
Right.
For Bledsoe.
Right.
All of a sudden, next thing you know, 3 Super Bowls later, he's Tom Brady.
He's Tom Brady,
you know, who's his girl, Joe? Who's his wife?
Giselle something. Giselle Beauty.
Giselle the Gazelle.
Gazelle.
Whatever else she is. But whatever, I mean, you know, God bless the guy. You know, the point I'm trying to make is the 6th round. I mean, here he is waiting round after round after round.
Look at Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, another guy.
Waiting for...
and then he had to go sit behind one of the best that there ever was.
Right.
He's got to sit behind him.
He was
and here's the
guy on that bench like this every game. Get hurt. Get hurt. And you can't tell me those guys... If you're any kind of competitor, you're waiting to get in there. You don't care how you get in there.
That is something that's like, you know...
Unwritten law.
That's like that quote of Omerta and organized crime. You don't talk about it.
You don't talk about it.
But I agree with you.
A guy sitting on the bench and he's waiting for the starter to go down or do bad so he can get in. I mean, any athlete wants to get in there.
Exactly. But that, you know, football, and we got 2 games? Well, we got this weekend and the following weekend of preseason. And then we start up. Who's the Bears' opening game?
Cincinnati, I think.
Cincy?
Yeah, but we'd have to look it up.
Is that home or?
I don't know.
Joe could look that.
But tonight it's Oakland. Then I know for sure they're playing Oakland.
I don't follow it till.
I mean,
actually,
who do you think are going to be the top teams?
Well, AFC. I've already told friends of mine that I cannot discount New England. I got to put New England.
They're always there. The coach,
always there.
Brady, they're just
the team you just said that the Bears are playing. Don't be surprised if they're that 9-7, 10-16 that does some damage. And the next thing Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
I'm talking about the AFC.
Yeah, right.
The next thing you know, they're in that AFC championship. The Dolphins are going to be tough. But I don't see anybody beating New England. How
about Pittsburgh? Do you think they'll come back, or they're a lot of questions?
Yeah, they're getting a little older. Roethlisberger, he sustained a lot of injuries.
How about the Ravens?
Well, they traded, they gave the field away.
Yeah,
they're building around, Flacco, so they're doing that, and that's a work in progress. I mean, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, you got to watch out for the Ravens.
Right. Indianapolis with their new quarterback.
Andrew Luck. This guy has got to be huge. I mean, his pinky finger is on like almost the last lace of the ball, and his index finger.
It's like a baseball.
It's a Nerf ball. I've been wearing the smallest pads I could, just taking a chance I didn't get hit because I know they got to wear big pads because you could get a separated shoulder like that. But just like to get some more free because you know how cumbersome he played ball.
Right. Got a hot call coming in.
Yeah, maybe it's Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck. No, and how about Seattle with this Wilson?
Wilson, tough team, another NFC team.
Right.
And you know what?
We'll know if that's a fluke or if they're for real.
NFC, I'll give you my teams. I'll write them down for you. Not necessarily in the order, but I like Green Bay.
Green Bay, I like them. I don't like them. I just I appreciate
Colin Kaepernick, Ron Jaworski, longtime quarterback with the Philadelphia Eagles. He said that he thinks that this guy might go down as the greatest quarterback of all time.
Really?
That's a bold statement from a guy that, just only played 8 games, Joe?
Right. That was right. They played the Bengals, the first team. For the opening.
Are they at home?
On CBS. They're at home against the Bengals. Then they're at home against the Vikings. That's the first time they got 2 games at home to open the season.
You got AP?
then they go to the Steelers, the Lions, and then the Saints, and then the Giants. They should be 1-6 by then.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They got a tough schedule. And don't discount the Lions.
Oh, I think they're a sleeper team.
Preseason, you know, they won 40-9 yesterday over the Patriots.
Right.
And he played two quarters.
Their biggest problem is their coach.
Brady did, you know, yeah.
Detroit. I mean, he's got good players. He's done well. I just think he loses control of the team.
Right. But, I mean, don't discount, you know, I mean, obviously, we're all here, all our listeners are here on board with the fact that we love the Bears. That's what we want. But
although you did predict, I think last month that Wisconsin was going to take it.
Green Bay.
Right.
Yeah.
I said the Packers.
Yeah.
I said the Packers will have to get past Frisco. I'm still sticking by it. Look who I am.
They play the Packers November 4th.
San Fran, Green Bay. That's who I think is going to be the NFC Championship game.
Right.
You know, barring a bracket situation to where
they play the Ravens, they play the Lions. The Bears are going to be lucky if they go 500.
They might be.
Right.
I think the Bears are. You know, the best wish for them is a 9-7 season.
Right.
You know,
and that's unbelievable.
I don't see much more than that.
What I can see there, it's they got a tough schedule. I'm more. Like you say, Green Bay. I think Detroit's going to surprise a lot of people.
Detroit's going to be the team that spoils a lot of good teams.
Right. Vikings will be only as good as Peterson. If Blake's hold up.
As far as AP goes, you know, I mean, what's he going to do? Is he going to get another 2,000 yards, season?
I don't know.
I mean, he could. That's not, beyond the realm of possibility. Of course he could. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. You can't take the beating that a running back takes. Like, you need a quarterback. The run passes up. The run sets up the pass.
Exactly.
But in Minnesota, it's different. It's almost like the run sets up their pass.
Right.
And you don't have a good pass.
By the way, that's what they were talking about Baltimore, the Ravens. That's what made them so good, their running game. And then they'd opened it up for Flacco. Right. But in the Vikings, it's going to be like when Peyton was here, Walter Payton.
Right.
They're going to give that ball to
different
Peterson.
They didn't have the spread offense.
Yeah, no.
The pistol.
It was a different day.
They run the pistol now. They flashed the stat the other day that they had 84. Who was it? Philadelphia Eagles. Chip Kelly, who was Oregon coach. Right. And he ran 84 offense. The offense had 84 plays.
Right.
They said that the most that any NFL team had last year was like 78. And they said that out of all the 84 plays, they only had 7 of them under center. 7 of them under center. So he's in the shotgun all the time.
Right.
Minnesota or?
Philadelphia. So, I mean, you got Vic back there, who could, he was the original guy.
He could have a good year.
Well, sure he could.
He has a good year. Philadelphia's in it. Right. That division, what do they have in that division? New Orleans is.
Well, you got Washington, the Giants. You can't sleep on the Giants.
Never. Not with Peyton. Not Peyton. The little brother Eli.
Eli Manning.
You never know with them.
You can't fall asleep on the Giants.
Division. That's a division.
Dallas. You got Romo and that crew. I mean, they're talking that Dallas is going to be there. I mean, here's a team. I think that whoever wins that division will be lucky, and then one of the other slots is going to be. A wild card.
Right.
They got to just wait for that. Because if they don't get a wild card, they're screwed. Because that division is way too
top
competitive.
teams, though, in the National League are Frisco, Green Bay, and we just talked about the Dallas division. We don't know who's
I like, in the NFC, I like Dallas, I like Green Bay to be there, but I won't discount Frisco. And if anybody's going to give them a shot, it'll be Dallas.
Really? Well, they do have the ability, but they're
record.
You know what?
What's the date today?
Today's the 23rd, August 23rd, 2013.
Friday.
23. Mike Maggs on record saying San Fran, Green Bay, Dallas. One of these, it'll be one of these teams playing Dallas. Now, I don't know how the brackets will work out. Who wins the division? The wild card, how it works out. But
injuries, what's going to happen with injuries this year. You don't know. That's what makes football tough.
Makes it so interesting. That's exactly. But I think we've covered on just about everything there is to do with sports.
Right.
All right. Well, on that note, we will say goodbye to our listeners who are here today, tuning in to the sports segment, and we'll invite the others who wish to stay tuned in to hear our popular behind-the-scenes piece. As far as the sports piece goes, I'm willing to say that we'll be back in the week of August the 26th. I'm unwilling to nail down a date right now, but we'll probably have something up in our written portion of this piece later today or at some point soon, indicating when we'll be back next week. But I do know we will be back next week. I just, again, don't want to commit to a date at this point, specific date, that is. All right, now beginning our behind-the-scenes piece now. I waited till we got into the behind-the-scenes piece to ask about Jason Hayward, despite the fact that it's a sports related person. Michael, is Jason Hayward, do you know if he's related to a young man I'm almost sure is named Anthony was it Hayward or Haywood? Is it Hayward? Jason Hayward.
Hayward.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of Anthony Haywood.
No, this guy's name was Hayward.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Haywards and the Haywoods. I was, before we cleared that up, where I was going with this is Anthony Haywood and Bill Dodano III's daughter had a baby together a few years ago, approximately, and I wasn't sure if it was a Hayward or a Haywood, and if there was a relation to the ball player, but
maybe we're saying the name wrong.
I don't know. Anyway, we could move on from that point.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Dodano's daughter
is Bill Dodano III's daughter. What?
Is married or?
Well, I don't know if it's a marriage, but I know that a beautiful little baby was born through a union of, I believe, the Haywood and Dodano union. I thought that for a second. I was wondering if it was Hayward or Haywood, and if there would have been a relation to Jason
we'll
Hayward.
Have to look that up.
Yeah, but I think that Anthony is a Haywood and not a Hayward or Hayward or
Word, yeah. There was an Ironhead Hayward in football. A football player, a running back, and it's possible she was with. I mean, they were related too.
Okay.
That's got old.
All right.
Let's move on.
Yeah, sure. Now, what I wanted to say, Michael, we have some listeners that are requesting a story or two about either Joseph Iupa or Tony Capezio. Now, I know you have Capezio, thank you for the correction. I know that Joey O'Brien was someone who was a.k.a. Joseph Iupa. I know he was someone that you had some dealings with, so you probably could speak from your own standpoint.
Well, dealings is a little broad of a statement because I didn't have dealings.
Thank you for that correction.
I was in his company.
Yes.
Let's just put it to where it really is. I was just in the man's company.
Yes.
Through my very dear friend, family member, through Jack's role. But I never had dealings with Joe.
Any experiences at all you care to share, enlighten us on the viewers that are interested?
About Joe?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
He was a tough guy. I know that he had, outside of his property over there in Oak Brook, he had a flag pole on his property, and when the flag was
Well, I know where you're going with that, and that story's been well known. But I'm talking about, and thank you for thinking of a notable story and a popular story, but specifically an experience that you can say that you've had with him. And if there are none, we'll move on.
I really didn't have any other than, I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I remember a time we were at the Ritz-Carlton, Jack and I, him, and whoever was driving him at the time. I forget who it was. I think it was Bucky. And
it would be Bucky Hortensi?
Yes. Which you met him, I believe, or told me that you did anyway, and I believe that you have. And he was a confidant of him. And we
there was
getting ready
Bucky,
to get...
and there was, what's his name, Pepsi, Belmo, and...
Little Al,
right,
he had, he had 1,000 guys that were,
Right.
Bucky, Pepsi, and Little Al. Sounds like a cartoon.
Brother Brownie,
Brown.
all sorts of wonderful, interesting names.
Clinky, Cupcake. No, I mean...
You're making me hungry now.
Yeah, I'm hungry. No, but we were getting in the elevator, and obviously when Jack and Joe were talking, I mean, Bucky was allowed to stay, not me. I was, sent to the dunce chair, I always call it,
Right.
because I was a young kid. No reason for me. I didn't want to hear.
Right.
Because if I don't hear, then
I
can't say anything about
They can't cut your head off or something.
Well, it gets back to them.
It
Gets back, they'll say,
well, the
did you
kid
talk to
wasn't
him?
here,
Right.
he didn't hear it, I don't know. You
Mhm.
told me that this guy was so-and-so, and that,
Right.
and he said, keep your mouth shut, and I came out. So I don't even have to keep my mouth shut about something I didn't hear, because
Right.
I could shout at the highest mountain, and what did I hear? I didn't hear anything.
Right.
But
So
we got in the elevator,
Yeah.
and
No, who was in the elevator?
me, Jack, Joey Iupa, and Bucky. And
Yeah.
before we get there,
Mm-hmm.
it was late fall, maybe early winter, just before Thanksgiving, and they had their hats on, and and you could never tell that Jack was bald because he had hair on the side.
Right,
he was
the George Washington hair, sort of.
right, exactly.
Captain Stubing.
Well, I wouldn't know. It's amazing what we say about the man now that he's passed.
True.
If you said it now, there would be,
Call me a bully.
Yeah, well, Al-Qaeda would look like they were just guys chasing bad kids around the block. But anyway, some woman came up to him and says, "Are you Jack Sparrow?" He says, "Well, who are you?" She says, "Well, I live down the block from you. My name is so-and-so." She says, "And this family has been bothering me for I don't know how many years, and I was wondering if there's any amount of money I could give to you. I'd like to have these people murdered." He says, "Lady, you got the wrong man. I don't know what the F you're talking about." And he walked away from her. Now, Joey O, we were all together. He had gotten into the elevator.
This is priceless.
It just went into the elevator like this here, and me and because I was like, even me as a young kid, I even knew that this was like off the charts craziness for somebody to approach this man.
Right.
And we get into the elevator, and Joey O, he's looking at Joey O, he says, "You believe that shit, Joe? You believe that shit?" He says, "Don't tell me it's because of your bald fucking head." He says, "You had your hat on," because Jack would say that he's famous because he's bald. And then people would recognize him. Jack Sparrow is bald. And he said, "Don't tell me that shit." He says, "It's not because you're bald, you had your hat on.
Right.
So don't tell me that." And that was like basically it. And Jack says, "Joe, you don't know what you're talking about." They had their little rhetoric. Me, I was only the laundry man knows how nervous I was.
You're talking about Iupa. Where did Iupa come from?
Melrose Park. You asked that once.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Melrose?
I guess so. I don't know a lot about Joe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he was, he was always
He had
okay with me.
He had hunting buddies that were boyfriends that he grew up with in Melrose Park.
Right.
What was Vito Scavo, the imprisoned police chief on 22 felony convictions? I think his father was Pat. Scavo's been in there forever, so he should be getting out, hopefully, right?
How long has Vito been in there for?
Well, I know when I was in the courtroom when they sentenced him, the judge said that she would sentence him to the same amount of jail time that George Ryan got, which was 6.5 years, but she made a mistake and thought it was 6 years. I was considering...
Were you close with Vito?
Was I close with him?
I mean, friendly. Friendly, I also asked you.
No.
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 So you guys always had a kind of a real...
Well, we had... there was a time where we just were, just cordial at best, but we never called each other and said, where do you want to go for dinner tonight or anything like that. No. But I believe his father, I won't quote his first name if it was Pat or something, but we'll call him the late Mr. Scavo. He knew Joey O'Brien pretty well, and we used to hunt with him, and then there was, Bucky Ortenzi and Augie Taddeo's parents, and
And Augie's.
Judge Joe Urso.
Just for the record, Augie Taddeo's a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Augie Taddeo.
And Judge Joe Urso's parents were close with him, and Joey O'Brien was very instrumental in helping Judge Joe Urso make a success out of his career in law as a judge. And so getting back to the initial point you raised, Frank, yes, he is very much, Mr. Ayupa was very much a Melrose Parker, as they say.
Who did he come up with?
Joe O'Brien.
Joey
He was a 42 game.
I don't know anything about that. I'm not disputing it or agreeing with you.
I think that was a Taylor Street game. You know, they were kids, they called them gang.
Right.
Yeah, I know what the 42 is, but I don't know anything about his connection to
Well,
it.
I don't either, but I know that he was one. And people till this day don't know why. I mean, maybe some people do, but I am not familiar with why that they called him the 40. Was there 42 members? Was the guy that
I think it was 1942. They all
was it
got together.
1942? Was the first guy that started?
It was well before 1942.
It was well before that. It was before, it was Capone era.
Was it their waist size?
They could have been there. No, they weren't. They weren't 42s.
They were 32s then.
Yeah.
They were 32s then. They got to be 42.
Joey O'Brien probably was a 50.
No.
Well, the underbelly, I think, protruded more than the regular waistline.
Was he one of those
like Sale Bastone? Do you remember Sale and Carney?
Would they have the wide bodies, like the wide rears?
Well, maybe they tightened the belt, or it was a Santa belt pants that...
It was like having a girdle on, wearing those Santa belts. They would just tuck everything in.
Yeah, right. It would hang over.
It would push out
just above the...
If you take all of that fat and you tie a ribbon around it, or some kind of a piece of rubber, it's going to pop out somewhere else. With Joey O'Brien and Sale Bastone, Judge Bastone's uncle, Cook County Judge Robert Bastone's uncle, Sale Bastone's underbelly, it pushed out. It really pushed out. Yeah.
So you had
two bellies. Some people have two chins.
Right.
Some guys have two bellies. I think a cow has, 4 stomachs?
Well, just like
Are you comparing him to a cow or?
Fat bastard.
Austin Powers, fat bastard. Joey O kind of looked like that when he walked in looking for his end. And he was telling Dr. Rita.
No.
I could see Joey O go, first things first. Where's your shit at? I gotta clamp.
Wait, who was he locked up with? Who was he locked up with when your friend said that he cleared the whole tier after a bowel movement?
Oh my God, yeah.
No.
Yeah,
well,
I guess
he would carry.
You eat garlic like it was an apple.
He would carry garlic. The big. I'm not talking about like a little clove.
Right.
I'm talking about the whole thing of garlic. He chew it like you chew on an apple.
No.
Yeah.
And when he had a ball a guy out, like holler at a guy,
right.
He'd get like this close. You what? In the breath. And then he ate anchovies, and everything in the world that something that if you ate that 3 days before you had a date with your most special girl, you wouldn't want to go. You would say, you know what, honey, I'm not ready for it. It'd be like going when you had diarrhea.
Right.
And you may as well, because instead of coming out of your ass, it's coming out of your mouth.
Right.
Because he would blow out the whole day, be playing
cards. Did you know that, though? I mean, the guy said...
You would think he gave a shit.
Who was locked up with him that said that he cleared...
Basil.
It was Pete Basil.
Yeah,
that he...
Billy's friend.
Yeah, well, yeah. And... what did he say that he had?
He just said he'd clear out the whole thing.
After a bowel movement.
Because the bathrooms, in the day room are very close to where there's like 6 tables. People are playing cards, and they'd be playing cards, and that old man he'd get up. And our listeners can't see, but I'm imitating how he would.
Yeah, see that. I wish they could see.
He'd look around and he'd flop a squat, and he'd take a sound like he was blowing a tuba in there.
In front of everybody?
Well, no, I mean, it is in front of everybody because it's,
it's the day room.
It's in the
because
day room.
It's no
but
high.
I mean, normally, these people give a courtesy flush.
Right.
When you're, I've been in jail and I've had hiccups in there.
When you say hiccups, you mean short stints of jail sentences.
Right, nothing, months here, months. And you give a courtesy flush. While it's coming out, you got your backhand on it, you're flushing, so it's going down, so it's not,
courtesy flush, you're right.
A courtesy flush.
You flush it immediately, just to get rid of it.
Right,
so
just to get rid of it, right.
Ferment.
So it doesn't ferment. And, him, he'd be in there like, who the fuck's going to say anything to me?
I'm done.
And then he'd come out, he'd wash him, cleanse himself, wipe, I'm sure he wiped properly. And he'd come out then and
go back.
Who wants to play cards?
With the garlic in his hand.
Garlic in his hand, eating it.
What made him, he thought the garlic made him healthy?
It is healthy for you. He lived to be...
Doesn't it seem like it made it healthy? He lived to be 90 years old.
Yeah.
89, what was he, Joe? 80?
I don't remember.
Well, he went away when he was 79, he did 10 years.
Yeah.
He died, he lived over 90.
He
somewhere,
did 10 years.
I don't think he hit 90, I think he was about 88
Was
when
it
he
the
died.
cilantro wrap?
No, Joe, Jack was 72, he was 89 when he went in. And Jack did 10 years, 6 months. Joey did 10 years.
10 years.
If I recall, we can look it up real easy, but I thought he was 88 when he died, and I know he died about 15 years, 16 years ago.
I would swear that he was 7 years older than Jack. I know that Jack went in when he was 72. Jack was 82 when he passed. And if Joe was 7 years older than him, and he died a year, Jack died before him. Jack died 4 years after he got out of the joint.
Yeah.
Poor Jack, he didn't get the proper medical attention that he was supposed to get. And Jack was a young man. He was.
Let me just jump in.
Go ahead.
Joe Ayupa was born December 1st, 1907 in Melrose Park. Died February 2nd, 1997. Which would have made him 89. I was a little off.
We were both a little off. I said 90, you said 88.
He was 80, Yeah, we were right in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it, right.
Exactly right.
Right.
He died in his 90th year. He just didn't live the additional 10 months to hit the number 90.
But anyway, get back to him eating the garlic. I mean, it's supposed to be the best thing in the world for you for the blood, and he lived by that.
Yeah.
He loved it. He'd go to restaurants
you smell it. Doesn't go away.
Me,
sweat or
I would be, I golfed all the time, and let's say I had a date that evening, so I'm going out playing in 90-degree weather. We might play 27, 36 holes, and and I might have had one of those dinners the night before with the garlic and this and that, and it's all, coming out of my system.
Yes.
And even at night, you're still not through with it. I just never would eat it. And plus, it upset my stomach. It's, it gets a little...
That kind of strong garlic.
A friend of ours, I won't mention his name because he'll yell and scream at me, but he was close with Joey O'Brien, and he was in Joe's yard with him, that house he had on, Yorkshire Boulevard or whatever.
Right,
Yorkshire, where the flagpole was off the highway.
Right.
And he had that dog, he had a dog, Ginger.
Right.
Yeah, who was a rough dog. This dog used to eat raccoons.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it was. I mean, I only saw the dog a few times. Scared the shit out of me. That's for sure.
And I'm sorry. And the fella that
too late now. Go ahead.
We'll just leave it at that. The gentleman that was a friend of his told me that they were in the yard putzing around and playing with the dog and showing him, Joe was showing our friend all these dead raccoons that were half eaten,
God.
And
well, it was no different than Michael Vick.
And
Yeah.
These were just raccoons. Michael Vick was showing them dead dogs that his dogs ate. So go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
Well, Joe apparently, according to the story, was really,
upset?
Excited about it. He thought it was really a special thing. He had a killer dog like this. He was just, over the moon happy about it. And he went into his pocket, and he pulls out a half of a McDonald's hamburger that he forgot was in his pocket. He said, and according to the story, he said, I thought I didn't know what I did with this the other day. And he proceeded to finish eating it.
Wait.
Yeah.
Because the old timers used to wear the same pants all the time.
Probably. Yeah, or shirt. I don't know if it was in
Right,
a sweater or whatever, but it was inside of a pocket that he had, and he forgot that he had half of this hamburger that he didn't finish from McDonald's, and he ate it, and he finally ate it. Well, not an important.
Well, what the listeners are listening to about Joey O eating leftover hamburgers, like George Costanza going into the garbage and eating a half-eaten croissant. I will say this.
Bismarck, I think that was.
Yeah, no, Jack.
Jack never.
No, Jack was.
McDonald's was not even. I don't even think we were allowed to drive by a McDonald's. If the Ritz-Carlton was next door to a McDonald's, I think we'd drive the back way around just because he never ate that junk.
Right.
Jack would never.
Well, there were two different people.
Two different people is exactly right.
Jack was the kind of guy that could get along in high society and fit in to some degree.
Well,
not perfectly.
Well, none of us are perfect, but I mean, Jack.
Well, for that particular society, I'm talking.
Jack would be able to mix in with anybody.
But then Joe, on the other hand, just wouldn't be interested in that kind of society.
He wouldn't care.
He liked to be in Melrose Park shooting animals and talking to his buddies about hunting and fishing. When he wasn't having human beings murdered.
Yeah.
Some harmless Bambi sitting over there doesn't know, and he's got. Could you imagine what the equipment they have today? With the beam, they get that red light on you. Bambi didn't have a chance back then. Could you imagine what Bambi, what kind of chance it has now?
None.
None. No chance.
All right, let's move to Tony Capezio.
Capezio.
Thank you. Tony Capezio, tough Tony.
Tough Tony Cap.
We were just talking about a story you mentioned about Willie having to see him in the morning. What was that like for Willie? I know it was just a second-hand story.
From Willie, I mean, first of all, when you say second-hand story, I don't consider it that when it comes to...
When you hear it from Willie.
When I hear it from Willie.
I agree with you.
The guy would never... He never embellished on a story.
Right.
He would not tell you a tall tale.
Right.
It was not fiction.
He'd either tell you a story or he wouldn't.
Even when the story would be about him that made him look bad.
He would tell
you accurately what happened.
Yes.
Even at his own...
Willie Messina?
Yes.
Yeah. He was a very, very wonderful man. And when he did tell me a story, he says one day he had to go by Jack, and, which was his daily, routine. He goes by Jack, and Jack says, listen, go by Cappy's house. Tell him that and I forget, I don't think he even told me, to be honest with you. I don't think he told me what it was about. He says, go over there and ask him if it's okay to do blah, 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 whatever it was. And when I say blah, 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 it's not like I don't want our listeners to know what I'm talking about.
You just don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is. He just told me. So he goes there, he knocks on the door, and Cap answers the door. It's like 8:45 in the morning. He says, come on in. He says, Jack wanted me to ask you. He says, wait a minute. He stopped him right in his tracks. He says, did you have breakfast yet? He said, well, yeah, Cap, I did. I grabbed some breakfast earlier this morning. He says, well, I haven't. Is it okay with you if I eat some breakfast before you tell me what Jack wants? Is that all right? Yeah. And that's Jack's boss now. You got to understand.
Right.
Capezio was?
Right.
Capezio was, yeah. He's an old Capone guy, and he's Jack's boss. And Cap says, Cap goes in his refrigerator, he cracks open a couple of beers, pours them in a big, huge cup, cracks 2 eggs, puts them in there, blends them up, some tomato juice, some Tabasco, salt, pepper, boop, 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 guzzles them down, couple of burps, couple of farts later. He says, now what does Jack want? Well, he wants to know if it's all right if we do, once again, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
He says, you tell Jack I said it's okay. He says, okay, could I go now? He says, yeah, go ahead. He says, I've had my breakfast. I'll see you fellas later. And Willie says, that miserable son of a bitch. He said, 9 in the morning, he's freaking, 50 ounces of beer already. He says that if we had to go meet him at 12 o'clock, he'd drink all night. And Willie telling you that a guy was miserable and hard to deal with was like...
It meant a lot.
It meant a lot, and the fact that it was so ironic that
he would say something.
That Willie could walk in the joint, 19 people would walk out.
Yeah, right.
Because they didn't want to.
Yeah.
Not they didn't want to be around for it. They were scared of him.
They didn't want to rub him the wrong way.
This guy,
I was
it was like Diablo, walking in there. It was like,
Right.
But Capezio was at,
he was there.
You know, Willie told me the story as well, and he also mentioned, and he probably told you too, that he was very uncomfortable around Cap. He did not like to have to meet with him and be with him.
What did he tell you? And if you tell me the same thing that I know,
It almost seemed like he was afraid of Cap.
Well, he would be, because, right, because you didn't know what this guy was capable of. This guy carried, he didn't have, he's a guy that had guys around him that carried enough guns to, we could, supply our troops in Afghanistan with enough guns with the guys he had around him. So he didn't need to carry his own pistol, but he always did. And he'd get a little popped up. These are stories I heard. I can't know, I wasn't even born, but I heard that he's sitting in some joints in Melrose Park, and he'd pull out that .45.
He puts the bullets in the...
Put some bullets in the ceiling, and they had... there was residents up there. They had apartments up there,
Boy.
I mean, he didn't give a damn,
One story I remember Willie telling me about Cap. He was with Jack and Cap one night. It was late. I don't know where they were, what they were doing. Maybe it was just a social meeting, and they all left separately. Jack told Willie, follow the old man home. Make sure he gets home okay. So sure enough, they get in their cars. Willie's following Cap down Oak Park Avenue, and all of a sudden Cap pulls the car over, and he gets out and he walks up to Willie's car, and he said, "Why are you following me?" And Willie said, "I just want to make sure you get home all right." He goes, "Turn the car around and go the other way right now." Willie turned the car around and went the other way. Now he gets back and meets up with Jack. Jack said, "Did you follow him home?"
I heard this story.
He said, "No, I didn't, Jack." "What do you mean that you didn't follow him? I told you."
Yelled at for both of them.
Because he told me to turn around. And then I think Jack admitted at the end, you did the right thing. If he told you turn around, turn around.
I mean, it's such a catch-22 for poor Willie, I mean, what are you going to do? The guy tells you don't follow. Just think if you follow Jack's orders, who's Willie's immediate boss, but Jack's immediate boss is Cap.
Right.
Willie's like, how can he win? I got to do it.
I'll get shot here both sides.
Right.
Well, gentlemen, the behind the scenes was a nice piece.
A little entertaining.
Yeah, it was. Well, everyone out there, thanks for listening. Guys, thanks for doing the show today. I know we were a little busy, and we had 3 different schedules, 3 different people going in different directions for a couple of weeks.
Everything will be back on schedule.
Yeah. But we're still going to, after this tape ends, we're going to figure out exactly what that schedule is, and we'll put it in our written piece for all the viewers out there. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Can't wait to talk to you again.
Take care.